where you get no BS practical insights on how to grow yourself and grow your career. On this episode, we're talking to Jarrett Thomas. He is the Chief Revenue Officer of OTB Digital. Welcome, Jarrett. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
First of all, Brenda, thank you for having me on the show. I know you've been a good friend of mine from the beginning of the journey, and I appreciate you. And this is long overdue, so I'm excited. Thank you. And for those watching, thank you for attending. I'm Jarrett Thomas. I'm Chief Revenue Officer at OTB Digital. I'm also the founder of the More Than a Title podcast. I'm an experienced seller for 11 years, and personal branding is one of my specialties. So I'm happy to share all my tips, tricks, frameworks, all that good stuff, and hopefully help you guys do the same.
You were one of the original people, I just have to tell you, that made me feel inspired to make a podcast. I remember watching you start your journey, and it was so fun. All of your episodes felt relevant, and you kind of, it was very off the cuff, but it was also real and practical, and you really dug into people's stories. And so I was like, I gotta do that. That sounds so fun.
I love it. Yeah, I wanted to start something that was like no more tips and tricks. I listen to a lot of people's podcasts, and it's the same thing. And it's very niche. So it's like, all right, if I'm an SEO for 20 years, like how much value am I really going to get out of this tips and tricks thing? But what is something everybody can relate to? A good story.
Totally. I love that. So with that in mind, why don't you just tell us a little bit about sort of your here to there? So where you started, where you are now, and then we can dig in.
Yeah, sure. So I started my sales journey maybe about 11 years ago. So I kind of snuck in the back door. That's what I usually tell people. I snuck in the back door sales. So I was working odd end jobs before my son was born. I was at Starbucks, Le Pen Quotidian. I was at Dallas BBQ smelling like ribs. I was doing reverse mortgages. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Like something's got to change. I'm about to have my first child. Yeah. And I'm still at my mama's house. This cannot work. So what are we going to do? So I'll kid you not. It was either I'm going to go left or I'm going to go right. And I'm like, I got to go right. And what ended up happening, I just started going on Indeed every single night, maybe for 2-3 hours, put in hundreds of applications. And I was just like, man, anything's got to be better than what I'm currently doing. Right. So I got a call from a hospital call center job to go into some recruiting office. And I'm going there, I'm doing an interview. And then another recruiter overheard me speaking. He was like, hey, man, let me talk to you for a second. I'm like, what's up? He's like, man, would you be interested in sales? I like the way you speak and carry yourself. I'm like, I never really thought about it. I kind of did reverse mortgages. That's kind of sales. I was just calling people. He was like, yeah, so sell me this pencil. Just happened to see Wolf of Wall Street. Happened to know the answer. Just happened to know the answer. I'll keep it real. Just happened to know the answer. And the next thing you know, I'm at his office the next couple of days or something. And I'm doing a video interview for the company I end up working at, which was Intent, which was the display advertising company. So I ended up So that was my first inception into digital sales. So it was like basically they had a technology that in partnerships with publishers that put you on relevant content or a relevant ad next to relevant content. So if you're like if you're a children's birthday party planner, they put you on Nick Jr. next to how to plan my kid's birthday party article.
There you go. Right.
So it's really cool. So I'm like, that's easy. But it was a boiler room environment. It was like, you don't hit your number by Friday, you're gone by Monday. And for some reason, I'll never forget this. And this is a true story. First day of the job, we're going around the room, the introductions. Hey, I'm from Buffalo. I'm from Yale. I'm from NYU. I'm like the last person. I'm like, look, I'm Jarrett Thomas from the Bronx, from Evander Childs High School, and I'm going to be a top seller here. Straight up. Yes. And I was like, oh, what the hell made me say that? That sounded real cocky and shit. What the hell made me say that? And then they laughed at me. It was like just a funny thing. And then 6 months later, we were doing $250,000 a quarter. And I was a top performer for 8 straight quarters. So, and then that's how the sales journey started. From there, I went to Cannes Lions. I was one of their first American employees. So if you guys are familiar with the big festival creativity out in France, I was one of their first American hires. Then from there, I went to a VP. I was a VP of business development at the Halo Group, an agency. So looking at the Cannes Lions, I wanted to be a part of Creative Works. I'm like, I could do that. I'm into music. I got creative genes. I want an award. Damn that. Give it to me. You know what I'm saying? And that was my mindset literally at the time. And then long story short, I ended up leaving that company and then just kind of bounced around to several different SaaS platforms. So I worked at a programmatic company. I worked at a company called Scribble Live and Ion Interactive, worked at Talkwalker. I brought to market their Influencer One product. And then I got to a really weird place in my career where after Talkwalker, basically I went to an agency called iPullRank. It was a 15-person small agency specializing in SEO. And that was just like, man, what am I going to do to really succeed at this role? Because this is a small brand that doesn't have a lot of brand awareness. And I'm tasked with going after Uber, Lyft, and Nike. And I'm like, that's not going to happen, right? I couldn't do it at Scribble Live, the big companies. Like, so how the heck am I going to do it here at this small org? Yeah. So I have a conversation with the CEO. like literally, how are we generating revenue, right? So he was like, man, I'm on Twitter. I got 50,000 followers. I'm doing keynote speaking. I'm doing a lot of content. I do this, I do that. Then a light bulb went up. I'm like, bing. I'm like, okay, cool. If that's what you're doing, all right. It's not these 1,000 emails that you want me to send. It's not the cold calls that are being effective. It's your ability to drive inbound pipeline. So how are you doing that? By being a person, by sharing your expertise, being a thought leader. So I said, okay, cool. Let me try that, right? So you stay on Twitter. The only logical place I could think was LinkedIn, because I'm like, my Instagram isn't it. It's my mom and my cousin and them. It's like, they're not going to buy. So it's like, what the hell am I to do? I'm going to LinkedIn. I had like 1,500 followers, 2,000 followers at the time. And I was using it the same way as everybody. It was like, hey, I'm here. Or I would just verify content that I'm trying to sell to make sure that they're actually at the company. The only two ways I used it. And then we would just go downstairs every single morning. Me and my sales partner, Lee, go shout out to Lee. And he was the only person that believed. Like, we were just two sales guys like, man, I'm not sending those emails. Those are whack. I don't want to do that. Like, let's do something fun. Let's do something that just feels right. And then every morning, I kid you not, for day one, we go downstairs, get a coffee, pull out our phone, no rhyme or reason, no editing, just pulled out our iPhone and just started recording. And it was just random topics in the day. Just, hey, SEO, motivation. I didn't get a good sleep last night. What did we do at our business? Kobe Bryant passed away. It's Valentine's Day. How you slide in somebody's DM? And it was just random stuff, like random stuff. It was just and we had no planning. It was just like, hey, we get in the morning. What you think? All right, cool. Let's do it. Press record. And then we just did it. And then 2 months into that, we would go to go get a chicken parm in Manhattan, and like for regular lunch and stuff like that. And people would stop us in the street, like, Jarrett, Lee, like, I watch your shit all the time. And I'm like, like, are you serious? You watch our stuff? Like, I'm only getting like 100 couple views or something. Like, how do you know me? And then from there, we was like, man, we've got something. And through the grace of God, like, I ended up closing a huge deal there shortly after, $450,000 deal for a big brand. And that kind of led us into the pandemic and kind of kept us afloat. But once the pandemic happened, I lost all my pipeline. All my pipeline. You know how that goes. It was just like, we went from Jarrett, we're about to close, to Jarrett, what the hell has happened? I don't even know if I'm gonna be here next week. I don't know if I'm gonna survive. Is it people getting sick? I don't know what's going on. And then so I'm like, hey man, I went to my boss. I'm like, well, we just start a podcast. Like, why don't we get potential prospects that are in the pipeline, just get them on the show, have conversation with them. Maybe they'll work with us, maybe they won't. But at the very least, we'll get some credibility talking to this SEO of Advanced Auto Parts or the SEO of Shopify, right? And maybe we can get some additional credibility and get some leads. And then from there, it kind of just spiraled. So we was doing really good at first. And then I spoke to my first CEO, Solomon Choi. Shout out to my brother. He's the CEO of 16 Handles. And then once I heard his story, I was like, this is it. Like, it's not the SEO tips and tricks. We can't do that. It's how did he start his business with $100 grand, come to New York from Cali, started his first location. Where did he find the location? What did he have to do to bootstrap the org? All those things. And I was just so intrigued by that. And I was like, that's the direction of the podcast. And then we just started interviewing a bunch of CEOs and leaders in the space. And it was just like all organic. It was no rhyme, no reason. I didn't know any of these people. I would just reach out on LinkedIn, and through the grace of God, they said yes. And then we went from there. And then I ended up leaving iPull Rank. I went to Hootsuite. And that's when I started More Than a Title, because when I was working with the org, and this is a gem for anybody else, if you're working with an org and you're starting your own podcast, make sure you have some agreement discussing the IP. And for people who don't know, that's the intellectual property. So even though I was the face of Rankable, we came up with the name of Rankable, we were helping with the edits of Rankable, I didn't own Rankable. They invested it. And if you in most contracts in your job is like, hey, if you create something on our work computer and the work stuff, it's ours, right? So I had a big discrepancy with that. That was one of my, like, how can you can't own me. So I don't know what you're going to do, because I've got the people. I did all of these things. I'm putting in extra hours. This is definitely not on my job description. So, and then so I just ended up leaving. So I left them. You keep the name. Okay, they still got it going, and I wish them best of luck. And I just started More Than a Title with Hootsuite. And I was like, look, I need my own. Came to them first day. And that's the reason why I even went to them, because I had offered, spoke to Google, Microsoft, Amazon, a few other companies, because I did a NBA free agency campaign. So I was like, hey, Jarrett's a free agent. I put my face on Steph Curry's body, put the company's logo on the Warriors, and was like, Jarrett's a free agent.
I love it. I love it. I remember seeing that. It was so good.
That was just some random, like, I just thought it would be funny. I was going to do like a whole week plan. I was going to do the push-ups. Like, I'm actually training for a sales job. And then they didn't even let me get to day two. I'm like, by day one, it went viral. And I'm like, everybody's reaching. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm like, holy shit. It was just like a $30 thing I gave on Fiverr, and it went viral. So, and then we found Hootsuite. And when I spoke to Hootsuite, I'm like, this is what I want to do. I want to do sales. Your customer actually wants what I'm actively doing on social media. It's an easy sale for me. I understand the space. And you want me to be me. I want to be me. I want to be the hat, the hoodie. I want to be my brand. I have to be this. And they said, come on, let's do it. And then it was all good from there. I ended up closing $1.2 million there in 6 months as an account manager. But unfortunately, I got caught up in the restructure. So I ended up leaving there August 2022. And then I'm like, hey, I've got a brand. I'll be able to get a job and all this. And then Google, then Meta, then all these layoffs. And it's like, it's getting tough. It's getting tough. And then there's no hybrid roles, right? For me personally, it's like, all right, most organizations want me going to a sales role. And I'm like, look, I'm not. I need a hybrid. So if I'm using marketing and probably getting more impressions than your marketing org to drive my pipeline, why can't I talk to marketing about how to drive leads? Why can't I be involved in the content creation process? I can still close my deals and hit my quota, but it's either or. And that's what's going to really hurt a lot of organizations. It's like, why pay two separate people for the job of one person when you could pay me to do both? And it's just like, it doesn't exist yet. So I couldn't find the role that really fit what I love to do, which is sales and marketing. And I was like, man, that's it. I'm just going to create my own business. I'm going to go out on a limb, started with my partners, OTB. And our whole goal was to like work with B2B brands and help them create content that's creative, right? To do things like the NBA free agency post. How do we do something with a $30, $50 budget that hits?
Exactly. I love, well, I just need to highlight this about your story is you just came, you showed up, and you were yourself.
That's it.
And is what's activated this entire incredible story, really, frankly, like the story that you have, it just always blows my mind. And and then you just show up and you own who you are and you just share your story. And that's so powerful. I was talking to someone the other day about how, as humans, if you think about like we were tribal species way back a long time ago, all we did was share stories, and that's how we learned. I feel like that's why stories and sharing stories is so important now. It's just like so much a part of our DNA. Can you talk a little bit about sharing your story and how that works with a personal brand? How do you show up as yourself and share your story in a way that's authentic?
Yeah, absolutely. So one, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't like some guru that's like, look, I'm going to be authentic. It was two things that really happened, right? So when I first started going on LinkedIn, I would just do it like an audit. So I wanted to look at everybody in my feed, who's doing well and why. So the ones that were doing well were the Chris Walkers, the Dave Gerhardts. It was Madison Butler. It was a few other Quentin Allams. So I'm looking at these people and I'm like, they all have something in common. They all have a unique look. They all have a unique look. So it's Dave with the bald head. It's Chris, where he's so polished and his looks are cool. Then it's Madison with the blue hair. It's Quentin with the fedoras. And I'm like, what can I do? And I'm like, I just got to be myself. I love hats. I've got like 200 hats in the house. I'm just going to wear that and wear some hoodies, and I'm going to be myself. Because my boss told me one thing that I've always stick to him. It was one thing that he told me that was really cool. He was like, man, if nobody wants to work with you as this, chances are they weren't going to work with you like that.
Oh.
And I was like, damn, that's real. Like, that's so true. So why am I trying to fake the funk when if being myself can be the filter to get the people who don't want to be around me away from me?
Yes. Okay. I love that so much because I feel like there's so many times when I've walked into a job interview or looked at a job post and thought, okay, how do I need to like reshape and mold myself so that they will like me and I can get this job? And, I think over the last 3 or 5 years, I've realized, no, like the more I'm myself, the easier it's going to be for me to find an environment where I'm going to thrive. And if they don't how I show up, then that is not the place for me. Talk a little bit more about that. Talk about how that has influenced your personal brand.
Yeah, so I was in the same boat. So before coming to iPull Rank, I was the typical sales guy. So I had good quarters. I had quarters where I was the top performer. I had quarters where I was middle of the pack. And I have quarters that was like, damn, what the hell did you do, Jarrett? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just keeping it all the way real. So, but when I got to, and I just hated the process. I prided myself on being the outbound guy. So if I can find your number on Zoom, Discover.org, if you were online, I could connect with you some way, somehow. So I'm thinking, how do I scale that, right? Because if I'm sending 1,000 emails and I get 3 meetings, and out of those 3 meetings, maybe one close, then 990. What about the 997 other people that think I'm an asshole, that think my messaging sucks, that are sharing my story to like other salespeople, like this is not what to do, and all this other stuff. And I've had all of that happen. And so I was like, I'm just done with that. So I'm just going to be my authentic self. I'm going to just give my story out and let me just be online. And then I got caught with the LinkedIn bug. So for those who are listening, the LinkedIn bug is like when you, that first moment for all creators, when you realize the reach is insane. So it'd be one post, you're like, whoa, I got 5,000, 3,000, 10,000 views. I don't have none of that on Facebook. I don't have that on Instagram, Twitter. So let me focus on this platform. And that's what ended up happening. And it just, from there, it was like, if I first started like with the SEO content, stuff like that. But what took off for me, the first viral post was, I'm 20 years old. I was working at Starbucks, Le Pan Quotidian, how I got into sales. And it was that whole story that I mentioned earlier that took off. And people from Germany, France, all over the States was like, Jarrett, I relate to that. And what most people misconstrued is like, people think about their personal brand as a transactional thing. It's not. It's building trust and credibility. So one day when you do, or you may need my services, then I'm not a stranger. And as long as I'm not a stranger, I can potentially make an axe one day.
Yes, I love, what's so important to me about that building trust and that you're sort of banking that trust over time, and eventually that trust pays back. When they think SEO, they're like, oh, I know a guy, whatever, you know. And I think that that's one of the things that people don't realize, is that trust isn't something that you build in the moment, like right away when you slide into DMs, like, or pitch slap them in the, you know.
I hate it.
That's not how you build trust. Yeah,
I hate it.
It's this time, it's effort, and it's being yourself and building trust in a way that's organic. Talk a little bit more about how you've built your trust with your personal brand. Yeah,
to be honest, I think the most important thing is being a giver. So when I first started, it was just me. It was just like, hey, what I haven't built up enough reputation or credibility to make you an ask. If I don't know you, I'm not going to cold call you. I'm not going to cold email you. I would just reach out to people and be like, hey man, just thanks for connecting. And I would make a joke. Don't worry, I'm not going to pitch you. That's not my thing. And they're like, oh, you can just see everything. The whole time they will sit there and be DMing each other for the entire day after that. So what I was just doing is just giving. Why am I hoarding information? If I've been in sales for 11 years, there's a lot of things that I know that might be able to help the person that started 5 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever the case may be. So my thing was, how do I talk to the young 21-year-old me? And if I can reach the young 21-year-old me, other people are going to see it, and other people are going to relate to it, and people are going to gravitate to whatever it is. So, and that's what it's been. It's been, hey, this is my journey, or this is what I'm doing today. And sometimes it's the non-sexy stuff. It's like I'm doing the grunt work for my business, or, hey, this is how I came up with this idea. Or, this is what I found out about the algorithm. Anything I find out, I'm putting it right online. So when I do actually have something I want to sell to you, imagine what that's going to be if that was valuable.
Right. Yeah. And I think people get so afraid. I mean, there's all this debate about gated content versus not gated content. And, you know, that doesn't really involve personal brand, but people are so afraid, I think, nowadays to give away their special nuggets of knowledge. What they don't realize is they're really crippling themselves. They're crippling the relationships they could be building. And it's like this, I hate to sound woo-woo-y, but it's like this sort of abundance mentality versus like hoarding mentality. And if you're hoarding, you can't see opportunities out there. And what I love about your story is you weren't like, let me develop a persona and then create content specifically for that persona. And while that does work and is super important to do, you know, that's always really important work for a brand to do. You just thought, who would I would have wanted to listen to if I was when I was 21? Who could have helped me? What kind of information would I have wanted when I was in that stage in my life? How did you think about that? How did you sort of come up with that as you were looking at how you were heading forward?
You know, great question. I thought about me coming up. So when I was my first sales job at Intent, there wasn't any salesperson that I could tap into that looked like me. I didn't have any mentors. I was straight from mortgage. Thank God I had BDR experience, and I just had the hustle mentality where I'll make 300, 400 calls until I get a yes. So with that persistence that helped me in sales at first, but I would have loved somebody to pull me by the wing and say, Jarrett, this is how you dress. Jarrett, this is what you do. Jarrett, this is how you talk in the break room. And I had to learn all of these things over time. So I was like, man, that's it for me, because there is no cool person. There was no cool person with a hat and a hoodie that looked like me that I could resonate and be like, oh, I want to be that. I want to be the VP of BET. And it was that person that I'll shout him out. That's my brother, Ken Gibbs. He was the first person to mentor me when I started at iPull Rank. So shout out to Ken. He was the first person that like I reached out to. I saw him at a conference at Social Media Week. And I was like, look, you're on the stage. I don't even know what he did. I was just like, man, you're on the stage and I want to be on the stage. I don't know what you do, but how do you do it? So he got off the stage, he walks off, and everybody's going to the influencer who he was interviewing. And I walked right to Ken and I'm like, hey, Ken, what's up, man? I don't know you, you don't know me, but I would love to get to know what you do, yada, yada. Long story short, found out he was the VP of BET, Vice President of Marketing. And then I was like, okay, cool. He hit me with y'all got to go to another talk, but hit me up on LinkedIn. Hit him up on LinkedIn. We didn't speak for 6 months. He was just like, just didn't see it. So I was just like, hey, man, what's up? Yeah. Hey, man, just following up. Hey, brother, just following up. It was like, and then 6 months later, it happened to be his birthday. I hit him with an automated happy birthday. The ones on LinkedIn, just happy birthday with the exclamation. He hits me back right after that. I was like, hey, Jarrett, sorry for not getting back to you. It's been crazy. Thanks for the birthday. I'm going to send you an email from my assistant. You get a half an hour once a month to talk about anything you want. And I was like, what? And from there, it was a wrap from there. So I'm like, I must have told everybody in my neighborhood, I'm talking to the VP of BET. He's going to be my friend. Oh my God. And then from there it was like, yo, if he'll say yes, who else will?
Right.
Who else will? And it did so much for my psyche, did so much for my confidence. And that's why you see me shooting for the stars, land on a cloud in terms of like who I interview and who I speak with, who I try to interact with. And that's really what it's been.
Yeah, that's awesome. If you hear a dog whining, my sweet little dog over here is hanging out with me.
All good.
She's been making some noises. But what I love about that is I feel like so many people are afraid to reach out to these, people that seem larger than life, or people that seem like they're, superhuman, or, they've achieved some sort of level. And what you're really bringing to the surface is that while these people are very busy, and yes, they have really important jobs, they're normal people, and you can have a conversation with them. You can approach them. How would you say, let's say somebody is wanting to approach, a really important person on LinkedIn. What would be your advice for them about how they would do that?
One, think about all the thousands of messages they may get, and what can you do to be different? So what are you going to do to stand out in their inbox? And I heard a really cool line the other day that I want to use. It's like, if you provide value to people of value's lives, then your value increases. So what I try to do is when I go, like, for instance, the CEO of Revolt, Datavia Samuels, that's my brother. What I did to him, I just kept it real. I went in the room. First of all, I was on the couch. I never forget, it was a Saturday. I'm talking to my girlfriend, and then I just happened to be on LinkedIn, and he was the CFO or the CRO at Revolt. I'm like, holy crap. I'm connected to him, or somebody I know is connected to him. Connect. And I told my girl, I said, look, baby, I'm going to go in the room and I'm going to film a video and I'm going to get him on the podcast. Did just that. It was a 30-40 second video. It was like, man, hey, man, I'm Jarrett Thomas from the Bronx. I'm 32 years old. Like, I have 2 kids. And look, I'm going to be honest with you. I aspire to be a C-level person like yourself, person of color. I'm trying to grind. I'm getting it out the mud, brother. It would mean a lot for me to learn from you. Come on the show and just drop some gems with me. And it was like, and just tell me a date, brother. And responded almost immediately. And the cool story about that is the day he was supposed to come on the show on Rankable, he was promoted to CEO of Revolt. So it was a big ad week and social media, all that stuff. It was viral. And I'm like, holy crap, he's going to cancel on me. I'm like, it's no way in hell he's going to come to my show the day he becomes CEO. And through the grace of God, he hit me up the same day. Like, nope, I wouldn't miss it, brother. On his biggest day of his career, made it to my show and showed up 5 minutes early. Well, I think we lost Brendan now. Yeah, but that's for anybody listening. That's definitely one way. So if there's anything that you guys can think of ways you can stand out in their inbox. Think of ways to be creative, right? It costs you no money to be creative.
Oh my gosh. So I had some technical difficulties. So I totally missed most of that. I'm so sorry about that. Okay. So tell me again, what I missed was you were saying, if you can be a person of value in a person of value's inbox, can you just go over that one more time for me? And okay. Thank you.
So, no problem. So if you can be a person of value to, if you can bring value to a person of value's life, then your value increases, right? So what I'm thinking, like, so for instance, the CEO of Revolt, what I did was I went in the room. I was talking to my girlfriend at the time. I saw he was connected to somebody I knew on LinkedIn. I connected with him and I told her right off the bat, I said, look, I'm going to go in the room and I'm going to make a video and I'm going to get him on the show. 30-second video. It was just, hey, man, I'm Jarrett from the Bronx. I have 2 kids. I'm an SEO seller. Like, I don't even know if you need that. I don't care about none of that. I aspire to be like you. And I can't get there unless I learn from you. So could you come on the show? Just give me 30 minutes. It costs you nothing. And through the grace of God, he came through. And then he got promoted to CEO the same day I was supposed to interview him. And he showed up to the show 5 minutes early. So it just shows you the character of who he is. So shout out to my brother Tavio Samuels, CEO Revolt, and everybody else who's ever come to the show. Like it's been a crazy journey, crazy story.
Hasn't it?
Oh,
yeah.
my goodness.
So one of the things that was so inspiring to me about you and your content was that, so I started at the beginning of the pandemic with zero network, literally zero.
Yeah.
Like, and because I had deleted all my social media profiles after, you know, some life events and divorce and things just for privacy. And so I show up, zero network, and I'm seeing like how many people are just attracted to what you're putting out there, and you're just being yourself. And it was sort of this light bulb moment for me that was like, okay, wait, if he's just being himself and he's getting all of these people of value to talk with him and to lend, you know, credibility to his personal brand and to give him insights, maybe that could work for me. Maybe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's so fulfilling because I think people know what they're going to get from you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, right? They know what to expect. So when they come on the show, it's like they know me already. It's like we talk about real stuff. We go deep. I've talked to people who are cancer survivors. I've talked to millionaires about how they parent their kids. Like, are you some cool, super rich dad? Or they see you like, get out of here, dad. Like, I want to know all of that stuff. And that's what I love about the show is that people come on and they're just real and they're authentic about it. And it's just, you know who I am. I'm not going to put you in trouble. I'm not going to ask you nothing crazy, but I want to know some real stuff. I want to know the story behind some of the some cool things and stuff like that. And it's worked. And thank God is like people want to gravitate to it. Like, so what I tell people is one post I'll never forget. And a lot of people misconstrue this stuff. And they're like, hey, when I get on LinkedIn, I got to post value. Value is subjective. Don't think about value, right? Because what's valuable to me may not be valuable to you, Britta. So if I do that, you're going to just kind of pigeonhole yourself. So what I basically did, one post, I put up a medium rare steak. We was at like a Christmas dinner party. It was like 3 months in. The CEO of Stars liked that post. Yeah. The CEO of Stars Entertainment, damn near $1 billion multimedia company, liked my picture of a steak, medium rare. Why? Was it valuable to his life? No, but he might have been in a steakhouse right then and there. Like, damn, that looks good. Jarrett, where did you go? Yeah. That's it. Conversation, relationship. That's it. Don't try to sell. Don't try to do anything. Thank you for liking. Thank you for taking time. Yo, what steakhouse do you go to? And now I can hit you up next time, man. I hope you're good. Have Merry Christmas. How's the family? Would you want to come on the show? Let's do it.
It's so funny. Value is subjective, and it's subjective at certain periods of time. Yeah, maybe he was hungry. Maybe he's so hungry. He's on a diet or something. He's like, oh, I got it.
Oh, I'm fiending for that steak. Like, and he's like it. And it's like, that's the conversation. So this really all you want is how do you start conversations and scale?
Yes. And I think people forget, like, think about how you interact with content. You know, when you're scrolling on LinkedIn, you know, what's the difference between you liking something and you commenting on something, and how does that relate to you? And like you said, you can't pigeonhole yourself. You know, there is no formula. It really is just showing up and talking about things that you care about. And I'm sure there's other people that will care about something similar or you know, enjoy what you have to say, even if it's, you know, posting a picture of a steak.
Absolutely. And what I will say too is just everybody who's listening, make sure you stand out. I know it sounds so basic as far as standing out and being authentic, but you'll see a lot of influencers that just take a playbook from some another influencer and just add it to themselves. That's not authentic.
No.
It's not authentic, right? Everybody can't be Justin Welsh. Everybody can't be BG. Everybody can't be like, maybe not me, whoever it is, right? Just be yourself and create your own lane. Then people will try to want to be like you and try to do that. So like, be yourself. Don't carbon copy somebody else's post and be like, hey, I'm going to post at 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, because Justin Welsh said so. Somebody else said so. That's what works for them, right? So my journey was way different. It took me about 7-8 months to start generating real revenue as a result from LinkedIn, where it was CEOs and CMOs like, Jarrett, I love your content. This is my budget. Can you help me? It took time. So if you're willing to invest in yourselves, guys, it's definitely valuable. And you don't know how long the reach is going to be like that on LinkedIn. So stay on it. LinkedIn, TikTok, go where your audience is and just have fun with it. It's just LinkedIn. If you don't, you get another shot tomorrow. You get another shot an hour from now. It doesn't matter. It's your thing.
Yeah. I feel like what I love about what you're saying is so many people feel afraid of, like, you know, what if the post doesn't do well? well, then nobody's going to remember it. And who cares?
That's it. Who cares? I got another shot tomorrow. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
post me
like,
and you probably had that flop, and I don't even look at it as a flop. I don't care if
yeah,
one person likes it. I'm gonna work the hell out that like.
yeah,
Thank you. Yo, what's
yeah,
up? Who are you? What's
yeah,
going on? Do you want to talk later? Like, here's my number. And I think that's something that also helps me stand out. There's so many calls. I'm probably one of the easiest people to reach.
yeah.
It's not like you DM me, you probably get something back in like 20 minutes. It's like, hey, what's up? I'm always on LinkedIn, so I'm there. So I take so many calls after hours that lead to nothing but relationships. There's people that who've called me like, Jarrett, I want to build my personal brand. And now they have 100,000 followers. I'm sitting there at 18,000. Like, what the hell did I tell you? like, what's up with that? Like, damn, you just boom. And I love it. And I love it. And it's that stuff, you know what I mean? That compounds like interest over time. So just help people give, and it's going to come back. And that's my whole philosophy.
So if a theme that I'm seeing coming up from this entire conversation is really like offering value and realizing that every interaction that you have is, you know, building your credibility, building your brand. And it's like, it's going to come back to you. You know, you may not see it in the moment, just like, you know, you invest with money, you might not see a dividend tomorrow. Unless it's, I don't know, something crazy like Bitcoin or a penny stock, but you know, that's dangerous. We're not doing that.
It's a great analogy though. Yep.
Yeah. But you know, you might not see something tomorrow, but eventually over time it starts to build that credibility. And I think, what would you tell to somebody who has just started to really interact on LinkedIn and they're feeling really discouraged and they don't know if this is going to provide them value? What would you say to them?
Keep going. Just keep going. Keep going. Everything is all about mindset, whether it's LinkedIn, social media, just life. It's all about your perspective. Yeah. Right. Like, so if you go on and post something, you like, it bombed, I'm never going to do it again. You did it. You didn't bomb. But what if you looked at it as like, man, I actually did it. I posted. I did it. I faced my fear. I did it. I put myself out there. I was vulnerable. Cool. If nobody likes it, cool. I get another shot tomorrow. Yeah. And it's just like working out. It's building muscle. It's building muscle. Like when we first started, I was getting 20 views. Then it was 30 views. Then it was 40 views, 50 views. And then it's like, oh, wow, I get 100, 200, 300. I get 4 or 5 likes. And come on. And most people out here today, like if you're on LinkedIn, the people who you know are probably going to be your biggest supporters at first.
Yes.
It's going to be the people you worked with, the people you interacted with, the people in the break room, right? So if you don't have good relationships outside of social media, it's going to be very hard. So most of my engagement comes from people that actually work with me, guys that we shot the shit with. We would go get beers after work and we would complain about the company together, like all types of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And those are the people that are like, oh shit, you're doing it, Jay. I'm glad you like, this is you, man. And that's what it's about. And then more people, those engagements allow me opportunity and visibility to other people. So just tap into your people, tap in, keep going. And that's the best advice, man, because within 3-4 months, what you want to get is that LinkedIn bug. Once you get the bug, it becomes a lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you never set out to be an influencer, but you certainly are. You know, you could definitely claim that, I think. At least you influenced me.
I appreciate you.
Do you find that I feel like most people that call themselves influencers are usually not? Like if they have it in their headline and they're like, the first thing, like, I'm an influencer, usually like,
It just feels, inauthentic when you're like an influencer. I'm just me. And then really, to be honest with you, I have data because I started the business stuff, but it's like, you're really an influencer when you can get people that you know or people that care about you to buy something.
Yeah. Yes.
If you can't do that, then you're really not an influencer. You're just a social media personality like we all are.
Yeah.
So really, and if you're not, and my goal is like, I'm not going to sit there and it's not no one-to-one sale. It might take 10, 15 touches for you to maybe do something. And I don't have no visibility in that. You might have went to my podcast, then went to the website, then went to my LinkedIn, then you went to me and Britta's podcast on the live, then you went over here, then you went over there, and then you finally came out of nowhere and was like, hey, Jarrett, I would love to speak to you. Yeah. I can't track that. So it is what it is. I just got to be myself, put myself out there. And if you want to speak to me, speak to me. And if anybody is listening, like I look at LinkedIn as the world's biggest highway and I get a billboard on it every day.
Yes. Oh, that's such a great analogy. I love that. LinkedIn is the world's biggest highway and you have your own billboard every day. I love that. That's it.
And you're looking up, even if you don't like it, you're zooming past. Zoom. Oh shit, Jarrett. Zoom. Okay, that's Jarrett again. Damn, I might need some SEO, some content. What's that? Jarrett. And think about how you interact like on a regular highway, on a regular billboard, and you see something, how it grabs your attention. Same thing on social media, guys. Just simplify it.
Simplify. Yes. Well, we're over time, but all of this content, all of this has been so valuable. I'm definitely going to have you on again. Would that be
Please,
all right?
anytime. And you got to come on my show. We're going to get it happening. And then
Yes.
anytime we could collab, sis, I'm always here for you.
Thank you. I would love that. I would love that so much. So we're going to close up with just a couple rapid fire questions. Two of my favorites. One, what is the most random job that you have ever had?
Oh, the most random job. I think my first job, I was working at Hallmark. I was probably like the only 13, 14-year-old with a job in like freshman year of high school. Everybody's going to have fun. And I'm working at Hallmark, checking people's bags and working as a cashier.
Oh, that's
so that was one of my craziest ones. But I've also I was at Yankee Stadium. I was in the back of the stadium flipping chicken tenders at 100-degree weather. I've done crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Anything you could think of, I've done. And that's one thing about my journey. Like I attribute my hustle to my parents. Like my pops worked from 7 a.m. to 12 at night for 27 years.
Wow.
So to put me through Catholic school and all that. So I get that hustle. And it sounded, when I told them I didn't want to go to the Board of X, my mom was assistant principal, I could have a layup. I just had to follow my own path. And then it looked stupid when I was just smelling like ribs. But now they're so proud and they're so happy because I stuck through it. I persevered. So
yeah,
a lot of crazy
they
jobs.
should be proud. Yes, absolutely. I think the most random job I've ever had, I sold for 2 days at a conference. I sold like a play on like the history of founders. I was Colonial Woman #2. It was a weird time. It was so weird.
The colonial, sound like medieval times. It was like there, like the Colonial Woman too.
It totally was. I love about your story though is that you take each random opportunity and you view it as an opportunity. Chicken tenders, whatever, but it's an opportunity to level up in some way, and I love
to be
that.
worse. It's everything. There's no losses, only lessons. And what I learned is that I don't like flipping tenders in 100-degree weather. So Jarrett, get off your ass.
I love that. Okay, so last question. What is the worst career advice you've ever gotten?
Play the game.
Ooh.
That's probably the worst. Play the game.
Yep.
It's I don't like the game, right? And if I don't want to play the game, if I can't change, if I know it's inequitable and all those other things, why would I want to play the game?
Yeah.
That means I have to be somebody else. I have to deal with the politics and all that. I just want to come and be myself, do some really good work, and take my ass home. That's what I want to do. That's all we all want to do, right? I want to have a good life. I want to go home. I don't want to carry this stuff with me.
Yeah.
Why do I have to do all that? So play the game. Any young professional out there, you don't have to. You have the ability right now with social media and all these other things to create a brand for yourself, to create your own narrative and change the game. Because guess what? I don't know if I'm doing it. It's probably hurt me in some opportunities, but I'm pretty sure some CEO somewhere probably seeing my stuff with the hat and hoodie and probably gonna give somebody a chance that looks like me one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they seen the content. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the same reason why I started to talk more openly about having ADHD and having dyslexia. It's like it's so important that people know that that's not a barrier to having a successful career. And it's important that maybe someday a CEO sees my post and realizes, oh, that we had a new hire that had dyslexia. Well, maybe that's not a problem. Maybe that's not an issue. Maybe they can still succeed, So
exactly. Britta was our best hire in 3 years. Who else has it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, all the dyslexia people. Yeah.
And that's so real. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are way over time, man, but I have loved every minute of this. Thank you
Likewise.
so much. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And thanks for joining us, everybody.